be. Number one, I think another element of what's happening is that the countries that are authoritarian, so now we're not just talking about a recession of democracy in terms of more or less democracies, we're talking about a recession of democraticness, of the extent, vigor of freedom and democracy in the world. So I think a lot of what's happening is that democracies are becoming less democratic, or not all of them. I think your two cases are valid. And I think Indonesia averted a disaster in the recent elections, and I'm kind of hopeful now, but it's a crucial case that could still go in either direction. And I just totally agree. I was shocked when Rajapaksa lost the presidential election in Sri Lanka, and I think it's one of the most hopeful things to happen for democracy in the world in many years. But, you know, Russia, a lot of the other countries you look at in post-Soviet space, well, Venezuela was already pretty bad. Many of the authoritarian countries in the world are becoming more so. And if you look at the Arab world and compare, we know the Arab Spring has imploded, except for Tunisia, which I'm also hopeful about. But the majority of Arab countries, by the Freedom House ratings alone, are more authoritarian today than they were at the time of the Arab Spring. One brief final thing. One reason why there's this, it's not even just by the numbers, it's kind of a gestalt, it's a zeitgeist, it's just a gathering sense that democracy is back on its heels in trouble. And the other big reason why is what's happening here in the United States, in the European Union. It's not like Japan is doing so well either. And in two senses. Number one, that, well, let's not get into it, but democracy is not performing well in the United States. I think generally that is a defensible proposition in this room. And secondly, I think the resolve, the willingness that was there for a long time of the established democracies in the world to promote democracy and defend democracy is really in serious and alarming retreat. Alarming because I believe we are in a period of recession, of freedom, let's say, and it really needs a lot of help and defense. And I'm really worried. I think we're on the cusp of something very, very dark and frightening. And that if we don't develop a strategy to counter what's happening even below the surface, below the numbers in terms of this authoritarian drift and creep, where the current sense is it's the authoritarian regimes like the ones you mentioned that have the dynamism, the power, the self-confidence, and not democracies, I think we're going to see an acceleration of what I think has been, for the last number of years, at least a mild recession of democracy in the world.